They start early in the state of Texas and many other states as well. I'm talking about football, and football means hits to the head. In fact, some studies indicate that a player can get hit in the head up to 1,000 times in a season. You multiply that by the number of players on the field, and you have a lot of potential for brain injury across a wide spectrum of players in a lot of different circumstances. One study out of the University of Rochester showed 38 players taking more than 19,000 hits to the head, with 59% in practice, 37% in games. Dr. James Vincent is the medical director of the Elite Care Emergency Room in Clear Lake and has seen the end result of this game we love. Yeah. And you've seen a lot of that. So let's talk about what we do. It's not pretty. What are some of your concerns when you see kids coming in with concussions?
Well, I think because it's so prevalent that probably what's scary is that in the 80s, we thought concussion was a big hit where you get knocked out. Now we're finding research is showing that maybe even just a minor hit with minor symptoms actually represents significant brain injury.
How early are you seeing some of these kids being impacted by that?
I'm seeing it as early as these kids start playing sports. So, you know, some of these kids are starting football at age 8. A little older than that, and we're seeing injuries already at that age.
From what I've read, it doesn't take much, really, much of a hit, really, to start causing issues with the brain. What should parents be looking out for when they have a child in a sport out there that they know there's going to be some hitting going on? What should they look out for signs that there may be something bigger than just a headache?
Right, this is so important. So I think recognizing concussion is probably the most important thing you can do for your child. And so I would say any hit to the head with any symptom. That's probably the easiest way to say it. And the symptoms can include headache and nausea. There's a fogginess. A lot of parents, they have almost an intuition. When that fogginess sets over their kid will just kind of be sitting there. All of these things do represent brain injury.
The studies that I've looked at, they go to trying to raise awareness about what's happening on the football field. Sure. But are you optimistic about changes that are being made in that category? Are there changes being made out there? I've seen more sports assistants out there with the kids, checking on them more than I've ever seen before. Right.
I really do like that. It feels that there's a cultural change, whereas maybe a few years back you should get back in there and play and shake it off. Now there's a real awareness that the most important thing is to pull these kids out, is to recognize. And it seems from Little League all the way through the pros that there's a cultural change, recognizing how important this is.
You know, when we look at college and pros, we hear about this athlete is in concussion protocol now, which before they didn't. Of course, that's what some of the NFL athletes have, when they have died, they have given their brains to science so some of these things to be analyzed. You talk about the fact that you can actually manage a concussion. What does that look like?
Right. So the first step is to recognize it and then pull them out from play. And then some advanced imaging techniques are starting to show that brain injury might persist up to 3 to 4 weeks after the injury. So during this time, there's a very careful prescribed way to gradually return your brain back to normal, both cognitive activity as well as physical activity. Kind of the way this looks is the first couple days after the injury, just pull out of school. Not necessarily a dark room, but just really lighten up your cognitive activity, no physical activity. Then somewhere between 2 days and 2 weeks, when the symptoms are completely gone, then you can gradually return to play. We found that's the safest way to get back to play.
So are you hopeful going forward that things are going to be changing so that parents are going to be much more aware and the schools are much more aware, and these things happen because it's not only football where these things happen, correct?
It's true. I've seen it certainly with soccer and basketball, these flyers and cheerleaders. I even saw one poor kid, he was a swimmer and he hit his head on the edge of the pool. So we're seeing it across all sports. Right.
So what do you tell parents in a general sense about what they need to do overall when their kids are going to be in sports? Because you don't want them to just sit and not do anything. They have to get involved.
Right. It's a very important part. These competitive athletics, certainly they teach our kids stuff. I think the most important thing is to maybe de-escalate the importance of the performance in the game or the playoff game, get back in there, and really stress the importance of their long-term brain safety. And so if you make it okay for the kid to sit out of play, I think that really moves the ball forward.
This could impact somebody for the rest of their life if it's not managed properly.
It sure can. It sure can. In fact, the AAP just released an article just last month where they're starting to involve the kids themselves in the discussion of the risks and benefits, almost an informed consent type of process, so that the kids can also be involved in these risk-taking behaviors.
Well, I want to make sure I got you in here. I saw the study. I knew that you were involved. I knew you were concerned. I want to make sure other people are concerned and know what to do as well.
Sure.
I put a link to the report that we've been talking about on Newsmakers, so that people can go to that on the Newsmakers page on click2houston.com, so you can go to that as well. Thank you for coming in,
You're
Doctor.
welcome.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much for having me.